Tathastu is an ancient Sanskrit expression formed from two words, astu, let it be, and tata, in such a manner. It's usually translated, let it be so, or so be it. When Janaka, the wise king of Mithila, was approached in his palace by destitute subjects who begged for his help, he replied, Tathastu. With these words, King Janaka granted their requests and instructed his ministers to provide for all their needs. Tathastu is also used to indicate unconditional acceptance of a particular situation. For example, when King Janaka was informed that his palace was on fire, he simply said, Tathastu. He accepted the situation unconditionally because the enlightened king had no attachment to his palace or to anything else. According to the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, unconditional acceptance of life's many difficulties is the key to complete freedom from suffering. Unconditional acceptance is the ability to embrace any experience, no matter how physically or emotionally painful it might be, but without feeling any hurt or sadness, without feeling disturbed or resentful, without wanting the situation to be different in any way whatsoever. Let's discuss how suffering can be overcome through unconditional acceptance. First of all, we have to understand the difference between pain and suffering. Suppose I have a really bad headache, and I say to myself, "Oh, my head is throbbing. I feel so miserable, I can't stand it." Pain, in this case, is the excruciating sensation of throbbing inside my head and at my temples. Suffering, on the other hand, is how I happen to react to that pain, by feeling irritated, distressed, or even tormented by the headache. Such reactions would make me feel even worse. But suppose I didn't react like that. If I could somehow accept the headache without reacting negatively, then I would not feel distressed or tormented by it. I would still feel the throbbing in my head, but without suffering because of it, without whining or complaining, without feeling disturbed at all. The same holds true for emotional pain. It's entirely possible to feel the terrible heartache of losing a loved one, but without feeling all the sorrow and grief that usually arises at times of loss and hangs on for a long time afterwards. But being free from grief and sorrow is possible only with unconditional acceptance of the loss. You can be completely free from suffering if your negative reactions, like sadness, hurt, anger, resentment, and so on, can somehow be replaced by unconditional acceptance. But how can you accept the non-stop throbbing of a bad headache or the terrible heartache of losing a loved one? That kind of acceptance is not a matter of choice. You can't simply decide to accept severe pain or terrible heartache. Fortunately, the teachings of Vedanta can lead you to discover how pain and heartache don't truly affect you in an essential way. They can't affect your true self, your fundamental nature as pure consciousness, as we'll discuss shortly. By discovering your true divine nature, atma, it's possible to remain completely undisturbed and perfectly content even when your head is pounding or your heart is breaking. Vedanta's solution to the problem of suffering is twofold. First is to understand the inevitability of pain and heartache, which afflict us all. Anyone who has a head is subject to headaches, and anyone who has emotions is subject to heartaches. Understanding the inevitability of pain and heartbreak is absolutely necessary to avoid a common but really miserable kind of suffering. That suffering is usually expressed with the words, "Why me? Why did this happen to me?" So many people are tormented by those thoughts when they're diagnosed with cancer or another serious illness. But the fact is, the mutations that create malignant cancer cells are natural. Really speaking, every kind of illness can be said to be natural in the sense that it arises according to the laws of nature and the laws of karma. When you clearly understand the fact that illness is both natural and inevitable, then, instead of asking, "Why me?" you will instead be able to ask, "Why not me? Am I so special that I should somehow be exempted or immune to the problems that can afflict everyone else?" In addition to understanding the inevitability of pain and heartache, Vedanta's solution to the problem of suffering has a second part that's even more important. Much of Vedanta's teachings are focused on the practice of self-inquiry, a practice called atma vichara. The goal of this practice is to discover your true divine nature, your true self, atma. With the help of Vedantic teachings, you can eventually discover that your true nature is unborn, uncreated, vast, boundaryless, and utterly unaffected by the problems of your body, mind, and the world around you. That practice has been described at great length in many of my other videos, so we won't dwell on it here. The ultimate outcome of the practice of self-inquiry is an extraordinary transformation of how you see yourself in relationship to your own body and mind. First of all, you come to understand that, in essence, you are a conscious being completely independent of your body. You abide inside your body, seeing the images that fall upon your eyes, hearing the sounds that reach your ears, and commanding the movements of your limbs. In this way, you come to understand that your body is just a vehicle for you, like a car. After you buy a new car, you drive it around, you fill it with fuel, and you get it repaired as required. In the same way, after you're born with a new body, you move it around, you feed it, and you get medical treatment as required. When an old car can no longer be repaired, you buy a new one. So, too, when your old body can no longer be kept alive through medical treatments, you drop it at the time of death and acquire a new one, according to your karma. The practice of self-inquiry not only transforms your relationship with your body, but it also transforms your relationship with your mind. You ultimately discover that you are ever-present, unchanging consciousness. The consciousness that reveals everything that happens in your mind, like your thoughts and emotions. As pure consciousness, whatever happens in your mind does not truly affect you, the awareful witness or conscious observer, called Sakshi. Like sunlight isn't affected by anything it happens to shine upon, in the same way, the so-called light of consciousness reveals your thoughts and emotions without being affected by them in any way whatsoever. This is Vedanta's twofold solution to the problem of suffering. First, knowing the inevitability of pain and heartache, and second, radically transforming your relationship with your body and mind. These realizations can lead you to a state of unconditional acceptance, a state of enlightenment in which you remain utterly untouched by suffering. A wonderful example of unconditional acceptance is found towards the end of the great epic Mahabharata. After the bloody war between the Kauravas and Pandavas came to an end, all 100 sons of King Dhritarashtra and Queen Gandhari lay dead on the battlefield. The king requested Sri Krishna to comfort and console Gandhari, who was holding the lifeless body of her eldest son, Duryodhana, in her arms. Gandhari was overcome by grief, and she falsely accused Sri Krishna of deliberately allowing the war to take place when he should have prevented it. Her deep anguish drove Gandhari to curse Sri Krishna and his entire clan to be killed, like her sons had been killed. In response to her curse, Sri Krishna spoke to her tenderly, without a trace of anger on his face, saying, "All of us will certainly die, according to our own karma." Not surprisingly, Sri Krishna unconditionally accepted Gandhari's curse. Okay, sometimes teachings like these can be conveyed in a tremendously powerful way when they're expressed in poems or songs, because poetry and music speaks directly to our hearts, to our emotions. It's not surprising that Adi Shankara and other great teachers composed deeply emotional hymns in praise of many different deities. A few years ago, I composed a Sanskrit hymn on unconditional acceptance, a hymn in praise of Ishvara as Vidhātā. Vidhātā is a name for the Supreme Being who governs the universe with his infinite intelligence, and who determines the laws of nature and the laws of karma. The hymn is called Vidhātā Shatkam, a set of 6 verses in praise of Vidhātā. To make it more accessible, I also composed an English translation that follows the meter of the original so that it can be chanted or sung in the same way as the Sanskrit. The English refrain says, "This world was thus fashioned by you, Tathastu." The refrain praises Ishvara, who is manifest as the intelligent order that governs the universe. And with the word Tathastu, the hymn expresses our unconditional acceptance of that divine order. Each of its 6 verses describes an aspect of that order by depicting one of the many cycles or patterns that regularly occur in our lives. I hope you enjoy it.
Vasantam parityajya dharma sharacha. As springtime surrenders to summer and fall, in antam grisitva piratri pratana, and sunsets are swallowed by night's murky sprawl. Jaramrityu janmani varjayeta. Birth, death, and old age, these none can forestall. Prapanchastvaya srishta hitam Tathastu. This world was thus fashioned by you, Tathastu. Prapanchastvaya srishta hitam Tathastu. Jayanto hi labha palantascha nasho. Our gains lead to losses, each loss to some gain. Dhruvam siddhya siddhi yatha varshapata. Successes and failures are certain as rain. Yatha karma jata sato no dvajeran. Such karma we're born with no scope to complain. Prapanchastvaya srishta hitam Tathastu. This world was thus fashioned by you, Tathastu. Prapanchastvaya srishta hitam Tathastu. Yada satyamarganarastu pramanti. While treading the true path of dharma we stray. Tata kutsite sankate hapatanti. Immersed in deep quagmires of discord we play. Tada dushta kinna punarhyagatascha. Then weary and soiled, regaining our way. Prapanchastvaya srishta hitam Tathastu. This world was thus fashioned by you, Tathastu. Prapanchastvaya srishta hitam Tathastu. Jayam kamayanya parajiyate cha. One hungry for triumph who suffers defeat. Jagat sandhyajan ha nirasha samohi. Renounces the world with despondent deceit. Punaf hamayan tu prayatnam karoti. But cravings return and again he competes. Prapanchastvaya srishta hitam Tathastu. This world was thus fashioned by you, Tathastu. Prapanchastvaya srishta hitam Tathastu. Avidya sajatasya kama prachanda. All born with avidya can feel kama's roar. Tata karma sanjayate tat palancha. Such kama breeds karma and phala to store. Dhruvam janma sajnanam kityeva bhuya, which leads to rebirth with avidya once more. Prapanchastvaya srishta hittam tathastu. This world was thus fashioned by you, Tathastu. Prapanchastvaya srishta hittam tathastu. Sabhikshu Saraja Sabheko Bhijata, reborn as a beggar, a king or a toad. Swadharma Charantascha Muktin Yatante, we strive for contentment and shoulder our load. Tato Brahma Nirvanam Richanti Sarve, till merging with Brahman, the highest abode. Prapanchastvaya srishta hittam tathastu. This world was thus fashioned by you, Tathastu. Prapanchastvaya srishta hittam tathastu.